and welcome to Inside the UPSL presented by TVE Max. My name is Pep Fernandez. I got my two best friends in the whole world, and Art and Dennis here live with us in the studio. You guys too. Listen, welcome to the show. For the next 60 minutes, we're going to break down the biggest news across the landscape of the UPSL and talk with some of the biggest newsmakers. We got a great guest coming up a little bit later in the show, but first, we've got free advertising. Again, it's still around. You can get in on the action as well. A month of free advertising, but you got to act now. You have to shoot us an email at TVE Max. That's sales at TVE Max. One more time, sales at TVE Max. All you have to do is send an email, say, I want some of that free advertising, and that's it. It's not a leasing program. You're not going to get free Tupperware for the next year. Like, there's no catch to it.
That wouldn't be a bad thing.
You're a big Tupperware guy, aren't you?
Well, you know, you got to put food in something.
Art loves leftovers. I mean, what can you say? But so, yeah, sales at TVE Max. Again, you're going to get 4 30-second spots. You're going to get sponsorship of an entire segment, but you got to act now. And it's free. Again, it's free. There's no strings attached. Sales at TVEmax.com. All right, right off the top, we got to talk about the biggest news going down in the world of the UPSL. And Pope, let's start with you because the fall regular season has wrapped up. And I know, Captain America has his shield. The UPSL also has its own shield, and it's much better. We're talking about the supporter shield, which goes to America SC.
Right, the Central Division champion out of Florida. They finished the season unbeaten, 12-0-0, and they had 39 points overall, which doesn't make a ton of sense at the moment because then they had to win. The math's not right in my head in the moment. Anyway,
I'm not a math guy. I'm not going to call you on it, so you're
39
okay.
Total points, best in the league. Again, unbeaten throughout the regular season, and now they look forward to the playoffs, as do most of the conferences. But as far as the Supporters Shield race goes, they finished with 39, 3 points ahead of San Antonio Runners SC, who had 36, and then Florida Soccer Soldiers had 33, and then Dallas Elite had 31. So we had 4 teams in the UPSL with 30 or more points, which is outstanding for just a short season, fall season. They played 10 to 12 games, depending on what conference they played in. So it's a great way to wrap up the regular season and look ahead now to this week, which will be upcoming, and most of the conferences will have their playoffs.
And speaking of San Antonio, which you just mentioned, I should say that their head coach, Mason Rankin's going to join us live on Inside the UPSL a little bit later in the show in our next segment. All right, so, we can't fight crime with the Supporters Shield, but it's still pretty nice. But Art, now we get to the playoffs. The regular season point total is nice, right? But when you get to the playoffs, that's why you play.
Of course, and for a team like America Soccer Club, the pressure is all on them. I mean, we've seen this song and dance before. You see some teams just tear right through the regular season and then are unable to claim the big prize. So right now, it's like forget about the regular season. But they're a great club. They know what's coming, and they'll be ready. Central
Conference 18 playoff bracket is set. They're going to kick things off this Saturday and Sunday. It's going to be cold, right? I mean, that's the first thing that jumps in my mind. It's going to be cold as we go into this the playoffs now.
Yeah, and most of the conferences will have to play 3 games in the next 3 weekends, and so it's only going to get colder as we approach December 22nd, which is the cutoff for the conferences that name their champions. So in the Central Conference, there'll be 4 games this weekend. I think 2 games Saturday, 2 games Sunday. The games on Saturday are Dallas Elite versus FC Waco, and can't read my own handwriting. San Antonio Runners will play Irving City FC on Saturday. So that's a big matchup there. And then Atletico Katy, which won back-to-back South Division titles there in the Central Conference, they'll host Inocentes, the spring season Central Division champion. And then Round Rock will round out their playoff first round against Houston FC out of the former PDL team. They're making their first appearance in the UPSL this season. So, and among the conferences, the league had 3 expansion teams win their conferences this fall, which is outstanding for the quality of the teams entering the league.
We're learning a lot about you today, Pope. You and I both failed writing and math. It's apparently, right?
The penmanship, not writing.
The penmanship. There you go. Yeah. Art, who do you like coming out of the Central Conference here?
I'm going to be a little, I can't really use the word old-fashioned, but I'm going to go with the teams.
You're old-fashioned. You like Tupperware. It's all
okay.
It's out of the cat's out of the bag.
I'm going to go with the teams that I'm going with the teams that I think everyone is expecting to get to the conference championship, and those teams would be Dallas Elite and Inocentes. I mean, they call that game, that is El Clasico. So I mean, if they do make it, that's going to be an awesome game. And aside from that, if one of those teams gets upset along the way, I mean, it's just going to be that much more better for this conference of UPSL soccer.
I think this weekend's games, though, probably the Atletico Katy versus Inocentes game is the one to watch. It's last season's champion versus back-to-back South Division champions. It's a marquee match.
It's intriguing.
Yeah, they don't meet very often, and so this will be one that catches most of the eyeballs, I think, on my Cujo.
Let's head to Southern California. It's kind of wet out there this weekend. I know people freak out about the rain down here, but we do have some playoff matchups coming up. Winds are in the playoffs. They're taking on Kern County, which is like the Bakersfield area, right? And OCFC2, and they are meeting, Sporting San Fernando?
That's correct.
So those are the matchups we're looking at right here?
So, yeah, there's two teams, both in the SoCal North and the SoCal South, that earn byes. In the North, it's LA Wolves. In the South, it's Cal United FC Strikers. And so
these are quarterfinals.
Correct.
And then once you get to the teams that had the byes this round, will be the semifinals.
Correct. So these are the quarterfinals right here. Winds will play Saturday, I believe, against
Kern County.
Kern County.
Is Kern County the home team? Do we know that?
No, I think it's here in Southern California. And so Kern County, we're promoted from the championship division in the spring season, so this will be their first time ever in a Pro Premier playoff. They're going to be excited for that, probably up for the game. And on the other side, OCFC2, they'll host Sporting San Fernando.
That game will be played at LA Harbor College.
Oh, okay.
So, either way, it's going to be played somewhere, but I guess it's hard to say who you're calling the host.
Good venue there. Art, who do you like in those matchups to move on to go on to the semifinals?
I think Kern County has been a good team so far, but I'm going to have to go with the Winds. I think they'll be tough to beat at home. And with OCFC2 against Sporting San Fernando, yeah, I know you're putting me on the spot. Sporting San Fernando's got a good squad, played in a very tough division with teams like the LA Wolves, but I'm going to say that OCFC2 pulls it out.
How about Maryland's world-class Premier Elite joining the UPSL? Pope, news on that?
Yeah,
on that front?
One of the biggest teams in Maryland Major Soccer and in the DMV, the Metro Washington, D.C., Baltimore area, has decided to join the UPSL for the spring season. They're mostly an immigrant team full of African immigrants who have come to the United States, gone to college, very well-educated men, and they've started this club that started from two teams that they were running, one in D.C. and one in Baltimore, that both won their leagues at the same time in the fall season of 2017, and so they decided to combine, create world-class Premier Elite. What did they do this spring season? They won both Maryland Majors First Division and the Washington Premier League there, which is the biggest USASA Elite league in that area. So now they come into the UPSL, still currently in the Maryland Majors playoffs and still active in the U.S. Open Cup. They recently defeated Rochester Lancers 2 the last full weekend of qualifying, which was November 17th and 18th, and so they're still waiting for their next opponent in the U.S. Open Cup. And this is sort of a rare occurrence that a team actively participating in the U.S. Open Cup decides during that program to join the UPSL, and it brings a lot of attention to them. It brings a lot of attention to the league, and I think that the attention that it's driving in that league in Maryland Majors and the partnership that's already been created with the UPSL that was announced way back in January is sort of starting to come to fruition a little bit. We're starting to see teams there who are seeing the prospects of what the UPSL can bring them and decide to not only continue to play in Maryland Major Soccer, which is one of the country's biggest and most prolific elite leagues, but also put teams in the UPSL.
So Art, there's not going to be this learning curve, it sounds like, for this team. If they're already still alive in U.S. Open Cup competition, they're going to hit the spring season running. I mean, you excited about this new Maryland club?
Yeah, I mean, like Dennis was talking about, I mean, during qualifying for U.S. Open Cup, they got a 4-2 victory over Easy Auto FC. They had a dominant 6-0 victory over Seaville Alliance Football Club, their reserve squad. But yeah, this is good for UPSL. I mean, they're a quality team. I mean, of course, there's already plenty of words there to describe the name of the team. World-class, Premier Elite. So maybe we could add the word quality in there somewhere. But yeah, definitely good. And I really want to see what I want to look at the talent that they're bringing and putting on the field.
It is a little bit of a word salad.
Hey, I mean, it's bold. World-class. Premier, Elite.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just missing Bestest?
Yeah. The leadership of the club, all the guys are from different African countries. They're just expatriates. They came to the United States to go to college. They've played semi-pro professional, some of them. And I think right now they're preparing for a semifinal matchup in Maryland Majors fall season. So they have games to play still. They're preparing for much more. Their season never stops. And so that's, I think that's sort of the model that they're looking for and why the UPSL appeals to them.
Kind of goes along with this whole like, I guess I'd call it like a gold rush in the UPSL, where these expansion teams are just popping up all over the place, like miners finding gold, Eureka, like they're just all over the place.
Well, soccer's everywhere.
Yeah.
Right. So you just have to build the support and the foundation and watch it grow.
Territorial exclusivity in the UPSL. Pope, I'm not good at writing, penmanship. I'm not good at math, and I don't know what territorial exclusivity means.
Okay. So it's a concept that has to do with expansion clubs and owning their market. So new teams pop up, or existing teams are already in those markets, and they don't want new teams coming in and sort of creating a demand for players, sponsorships, partners, that sort of thing. And in places where the UPSL hasn't already existed, but soccer on the pro development level has existed for quite a while, you'll find these models and these concepts, especially in places like Texas, the Midwest, the Northeast, where talent's a little more spread out. The metropolitan area isn't quite as large as it is here in Southern California. That idea of territorial exclusivity didn't stem from Southern California. It stems from clubs that are joining the league from these different regions, expecting this to be the norm. And it hasn't been the norm in the UPSL, but demand is creating the thought process behind the UPSL starting to adopt this concept. Teams are asking for it. They don't want, two teams in the same
trying to poach
city.
each other's
Exactly.
players and whatnot.
And if they run different models, they can be just conflicts on a philosophical basis there in the city. Like you could have a club that charges players, and you could have a free club, and which club is going to have more players, right? The club that doesn't charge, right?
Yeah.
So there's different models, different ways to do it, but mostly it's about protecting what teams have built.
Yeah.
So they don't have to, battle their own league partners, right? You want to be club versus club in another town, or potentially other scenarios. So you don't want to have to do that, and it'll be market by market for the most part. Take into consideration what is happening in Iowa per se, and if those certain places need that kind of exclusivity, and it will be just based upon who's doing what where. Sort of thing won't happen probably in Southern California, probably won't happen in South Florida, where there's just so much soccer.
There's enough to go around.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's happening in places that are more sparsely populated.
Rural, areas.
Right. And it's going to take, for this to actually finalize and be a thing with the UPSL and be a concrete concept, it's going to take a lot of paperwork still, a lot of conversations, to happen.
Yeah.
So it's a burgeoning concept, but I think it's one
they want to implement.
In certain places.
Yeah.
Right. Where it's appropriate.
So if Art over here wants to plant his flag in Santa Ana and start a team, I don't know, Tupperware FC or whatever he wants to call it, he might have some pushback from another UPSL side.
Going
right?
forward, I think there might be a little bit,
Yeah. Are you thinking about starting a club, by the way?
No. Well,
but what do you think of this, Art?
It's something that I really can't share too much on right now. I'm kind of just wait and see how things go. I mean, I'm just going to leave it at that.
I mean, because you're right. In these, if you want to call them like a soccer hotbed, Southern California, Florida, there's a lot of great players. There's a lot of talent to spread around. But you're right. If you're in a rural area and there's not a whole lot of players to pick from, you don't want another club coming in and poaching maybe your best players, or just you don't even have enough guys to field the team anymore.
Exactly. So I think it's just a protective measure for these clubs already involved in the league to not see a brand new club pop up right beside them.
Yeah. All right, so that's off the top. The biggest news in the UPSL. When we come back, we're going to be joined live on the show by San Antonio Runners SC head coach Mason Rankin, live on Inside the UPSL, presented by TVE Max. And welcome back to Inside the UPSL, presented by TVE Max. Dennis Pope, Art Eftikari. My name is Pep Fernandez. Join us live on the show right now, the head coach for San Antonio Runners SC, Mason Rankin. Coach, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. Excited to be on.
Hey, congrats to a great fall season for San Antonio. Talk about the success you guys have enjoyed early on.
Well, we had a lot of great success. It was all basically due to our foundation that we set from the beginning. We got everyone on board with the mission, what we're trying to do for the club and for all the individuals, and that was mainly what happened. We had a lot of players that we picked so we could work with everyone's schedules being in school and working, and it's gone very well.
So 11 wins, 3 ties, just 1 loss, the number 1 seed in the Central Conference Heart Division playoffs. So, Coach, a good thing going through the regular season. Now you get to the playoffs where everything is magnified now. Are you excited about your chances now as you go into the postseason?
Absolutely. We cannot wait. We're super excited about all the attention that all the players are going to get and the team's going to get, and let's see how far we can go.
Now, Coach, explain a little bit how Runners SC is an extension of the men's club team at the University of Texas San Antonio. How did that make that transition?
Well, I actually transferred from playing college soccer at UTSA as a sophomore, and I played on the club team, and I ended up becoming the coach and president of the club, and I redeveloped it. We had several players go play for another UPSL team in town, and then they came back for the fall season. We weren't too excited about what was in store, so we were looking at other options. We thought UPSL was a fantastic platform, so we entered it, and going on from there, we've grown. We've been able to definitely work with the club and help them out. We have our UPSL team training on one half of the field from 9 to 11 p.m. and the A team and B team training from 8 to 11. So they get to see each other train and play. When the UPSL players come in early, they train with the club team, and when the club team players are ending with training, the ones who are doing well enough get to go train with the UPSL team, and we've moved about 15 players up to train and be on the official roster throughout the season.
So, Coach, maybe I'm just simplifying it, but it sounds like supply and demand. There was a demand for something at the caliber of like a UPSL club, and that's where you kind of saw the opening.
Absolutely. With all the turmoil going on in the U.S. soccer system, as well as we had a recent NPSL team called Corinthians that was here in town. That didn't exist anymore. So there was a huge void to be filled here in town with all of these players, and we were looking at what type of club we wanted to establish, what type of market we wanted to enter. So we decided that targeting the players who were in college and who have graduated from college was the best bet. We're trying to get all the players who maybe fell through the cracks or were at the next level and something happened due to injury or whatever, a second opportunity, a third opportunity to get looked at and see where they can go or what they can do.
So, Coach, what are your first impressions now of your first season now in the UPSL?
Well, it's like everyone's fairly familiar with. It's new in Texas. It's new in the Central Conference. It's growing very fast. It's getting a lot of traction and attention. It's becoming a good platform and outlet for people to have a club with a pro development team or to get players, like we're trying to do, to the next level. And it's very impressive. We're super excited for the future that UPSL holds and how it's growing. They provided a very good model that I was extremely impressed with about creating the pro relegation, as well as establishing, professional pro premier division. We're trying to be a pro team. We're not trying to be a pro development team, and with the model that UPSL provides, we really think that it is a fantastic opportunity to actually legitimately grow from the grassroots level all the way to the top level that you can possibly get. And we're real excited to see how UPSL continues to evolve and to be a big part of that.
Well, the San Antonio Runners SC got their first taste of U.S. Open Cup action this fall, Coach. And I know it was a 3-1 setback against Celtic Cowboys Premier, but can you chalk that up to just having a good experience and, again, getting your first taste of what that's going to be like now going forward?
Well, definitely, we're more prepared with the field situations. You know, we have a great relationship with the Celtic Cowboys. For the last 3 years since I've been head coach of the club team at UTSA, we've scrimmaged in preseason, and this year we got our A team and B team together. First day back, no training before. We went and scrimmaged them, and we lost 3-0. They scored 3 goals in the first 12 minutes, and it was a very even game. So we were really looking forward to taking the UPSL team to go play them in the Open Cup, and it was just funny how that worked out, and we were real excited. We got a taste of what it was going to be like. We've had several players who have prior exposure in the Open Cup, so they knew what it was going to be like, but for me, that was my first time. I think we've done very well at trying to redeem ourselves for that loss, and we're definitely prepared for next year.
Well, now you got a big playoff game coming up this weekend against Irving City FC. Coach, how's training been like this week? Are you guys fired up to maybe get a playoff win come this weekend?
Oh, everyone's excited. Everyone's fighting for a spot on that 18 with such a large squad that we have. We rotate and work around everybody's schedules, and now that we're going into playoffs and school's about over, we've got everybody available. So now it's just a matter of finding out who the right people are to play in the right place at the right time with the right team on the field.
Hey Mason, this is Dennis. I see your picture on Twitter and you got a big full red beard. I wonder if that's a playoff thing or if that's ever going to get shaved off or what is
No, that's never getting shaved off.
Fair enough. I don't shave either, so I don't blame you.
Yeah,
Dennis is
definitely.
Team beard. So is Art. You guys both have beards, the whole beard team. So, Coach, what do you think it's going to take to maybe string together a couple wins now and maybe bring a UPSL Fall Championship back to the city of San Antonio? How special would that be in your first year?
That would be incredible. We're super excited, and that's the goal we're going for, and we're even shooting for the national championship. So we're doing everything that we possibly can. We're trying not to get too excited. We're trying to keep maintain the competitiveness and get ready and not get too cocky.
Well, Coach, it's been a great start in the regular season. Now we head to the playoffs. Best of luck against Irving City FC this Saturday. That's a Central Conference playoff game. Thank you, Coach. We really appreciate the time.
Thank you for having me. Great. Definitely appreciate it.
That's Mason Rankin, the general manager and head coach of San Antonio Runners SC. When we come back on Inside the UPSL, we got the My Cujo Goals of the Week. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Inside the UPSL presented by TVE Max. Time to carve out a little bit of this segment to talk about the My Cujo goals of the week. And now, not just the goals of the week, because we want to go big. I mean, like, if we were in a drive-through, we're going to supersize this. We're going all the way big because we're going to have, the playoff goal of the year, Pope? Is that what's coming up right now?
So what we're going to do this upcoming, through the end of the month, through the conference playoffs, is have a UPSL goal of the playoffs. So all teams should submit their goals like they did during the regular season using the hashtag UPSL MyCujo GOTW, same as before. And at the end of this month, following the 22nd, we'll do a goal of the playoffs. And then for these set of goals that we're about to watch, these are the 8 champions through the fall season. And then 2 weeks prior to the national championship game, February 2nd, we'll run this competition, so it'll be seeded. You'll see the videos and you'll be able to vote on them, but that won't happen until January. But this is a look at the 8 best goals from the fall season.
Let's check them out. Now, we know you're already hanging out on Twitter. You're already there. You're hanging out. You're trolling people. You're finding out what's going on. Right, Art? Right?
Yes. Obviously. I just put my phone down.
So, again, make sure you follow UPSL at UPSL Soccer on Twitter. But you're already hanging out there, so make sure you go follow the feed and everything. But the 8 goals right there, I know it's probably like picking your favorite son. Like, Pope, your dad. You've got lots of kids, lots of kids.
Yeah.
If I said pick out your favorite, you'd be like, I don't know. I mean, I love them all for different reasons. I'm going to pin you guys down, though. You got to pick a goal. Like, you got to pick a favorite. You can't say I love them all for different reasons. I mean, that first goal, he's a nice guy. Art, you got a goal?
Ricardo Zuniga of Terrell FC.
Yeah.
That I can't even use the words to describe it. That free kick that just goes high out of the view of the camera and finds its way into the net. Classic.
Kind of like an Angels in the outfield moment. The ball just changes direction.
There are a lot of good goals this fall season. We only did 8 of the weeks. We started a little bit late and caught up, but so many good goals. Teams like LA10 FC kept submitting goals. Savannah Clovers had goals. Samba FC San Antonio had goals. You mentioned Terrell FC. They're just coming in from all over the place. There was a banger, though, early in the season. I think Henry Bain of Savannah Clovers hit one, and it was just the sweetest little take, and it was a one-timer, and it was just bang, like I said, and it just a fine goal. It wasn't a halfway free kick like Zuniga's, but for early in the season and teams just catching on, it was like a dream come true for me to see that goal come across as a goal of the week candidate, and it's no wonder that it won. I think it was week 2, maybe week 1. I forget exactly which week, but that was one of my favorites throughout the season. They were all really good. I wouldn't be surprised though if week 8 the Zuniga goal is the one that wins. It's just, how can you beat a halfway free kick? I mean, it curves in, and it's just an amazing goal. So that competition again won't come till January. We're going to seed the goals based on how many votes each goal received, and then we'll post that probably about January 15th or 16th. And so that'll be available for voting. But look for the playoff goals these next 3 weeks. That'll be coming up next.
That's incentive for all the players out there watching the show, and if their team is alive in the playoffs, to go out there and crack a banger, like Pope says, have a great goal. You can become a household name right here on Inside the UPSL with a great goal.
And don't forget, it's worth money.
It's worth money.
The winner of the playoff goal will receive $250, and then, and this is just announced today, a conversation I had with Mike Cujo, they're going to give $500 to the goal of the year winner.
Are you serious?
So for reals.
And what's even crazier, Art said he would match that. $500.
Wow, Art. That is something.
He's going to sell off his Tupperware collection, and he's going to
it still wouldn't get anywhere near that.
No, but seriously, yeah, so there is money on the line. It's not Art's money, unless you want to.
A charitable contribution?
Is it the part where's the tumbleweed?
Yeah, just whistling in the wind. But if you crack a real banger, make sure you send the video in. Right? How do they do that, Pope? In case they're watching this for the first time and say, "I want to be on the show."
So you have to get in touch with Mike Cujo. You have to be using the app. You have to be using it to upload or stream your games. And then when your team scores a goal, you upload that goal using the attachment file on the Mike Cujo, and you hashtag it. UPSL Mike Cujo goal of the week to Twitter, and that's where all the voting will take place. That's where all people post their videos. If you post it to YouTube, it's no good. If you post it to Facebook, it's no good. You got to post it on Twitter.
Okay, you guys got it. That's the drill. Now you know you can become a household name right here on Inside the UPSL if you crack a real banger here, and we love your goal. All right, when we come back, we've got other news as we're going to go coast to coast. We're going to hop on a plane. We're going to go from east to west and everywhere in between on Inside the UPSL, presented by TVE Max. And welcome back to Inside the UPSL, presented by TVE Max. Again, free advertising. We got to send us an email, sales@tvemax.com, to get the information. Say, I want that free advertising, free commercials, free sponsorship of a segment, the whole deal. And it's free. Did I say it's free? No money.
A couple times.
Like no money. Yeah. So it's right up Art's alley. Okay, so the soccer soldiers, I thought they were just going to win forever. Forever. But that winning streak, their unbeaten streak, I should say, came to a close. And I'll start with Dennis.
Yeah, Palm Beach Spartans come up big with a 2-1 victory this last weekend to snap their Soldiers' unbeaten streak. Soldiers the previous week had beaten Miami Sun in the matchup of the two last unbeatens in the South Florida division, and maybe it was coming off too high an emotional victory or what have you, but they lost their season finale. Now it's not going to change things for Soldiers in the way seeding happens down there in the playoffs, but I'm sure they would have liked that unblemished record. So, they move on to the playoffs, and they'll host a game this Sunday against Gold Coast Inter, which is an expansion team. And they'll be one of the 4 playoff games down there in the South Florida Division this weekend. Some exciting matchups, and we can go through them. Right now, Jupiter FC will play. Man, my writing is terrible.
Penmanship. It's really bad.
He's probably thinking Uranus or something like that.
No, it's Jupiter Soccer Club, great youth club all this time, and they put an expansion team in the UPSL. They're going to play that Palm Beach Spartans team that beat Soccer Soldiers, so that's going to be a good matchup. Sun FC, which finished second in the South, they're going to host FSI Vultures FC. They're also an expansion team. And then Hebreka Miami FC, they're the team that finished third in the South Division. They're going to host Hurricane FC, which was a U.S. Open Cup qualifying participant. They ended up losing that game to, I think they lost to Orlando, or I should say America SC in their game. But all 4 good matchups, all 4 this weekend. And there's only going to be one winner out of that division. That winner will play the Central Division winner. And they have 3 playoff games this weekend.
Those are some battles on the horizon. Those are some great games.
Right. And they have to break all this down, too, by December 22nd. So they have a lot of games to fit in. Like I said, the South Florida winner will have to play the Central Florida winner, and then that winner will play the Southeast Mid-Atlantic Division champion. And so there's a lot of games still to be played down there in the Southeast.
So, Art, for the Soccer Soldiers, like Dennis mentioned, that perfect unbeaten regular season's awesome. But do you think maybe they were say, hey, let's pump the brakes, let's make sure we're healthy, maybe get some guys some minutes who weren't necessarily getting a lot of playing time in the regular season to kind of maybe bring everyone up to speed for the playoffs? I mean, can you make a case that it's not a bad loss for Soccer Soldiers?
Well, you know what? That last weekend they played 2 games in 2 days. That Saturday they beat. They beat Hurricane FC 5-1. Next day, on that Sunday, lost 2-1 to Palm Beach Spartans. So clearly fatigue was an issue. But look, they finished the season on top of the standings. This was a perfect time. I can honestly say this was an okay time for them to lose. You say, who cares about it? Who cares about being undefeated? They're going to play against Gold Coast Inter. The Gold Coast finished in 8th, and I don't think Soccer Soldiers will have too much of a problem. And, like I've been saying before, I've had these talks many times. I mean, what about the time the Patriots won every single game except the Super Bowl? I mean, no one really wants to talk about
Gold
Patriots
State Warriors
fans
had something similar.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they thought that they was so amazing that they beat the Bulls' 72-10 record, which I am a diehard Bulls fan, but Warriors didn't win that, so that was hilarious for me. But yes, Florida Soccer Soldiers, they're going to take care of business. Forget about that loss. They are fatigued. They'll be fine.
I'm with you. You rarely see an 8 upset the 1. I'm with you are on that one. To the Southeast, and we had maybe a surprise in the Mid-Atlantic South Division, Pope?
A little bit. Sanford, North Carolina, Sanlee FC, an expansion team. They're one of the 3 expansion teams this year that won a conference championship. They won their last 4 games of the regular season to kind of sneak up on the 2 teams there.
Did they get new players added? I mean,
well, you can only add players after a certain, or can add players after a certain point. So. Not really. I think it was just they probably trended upwards where maybe Clovers and the other teams in the Mid-Atlantic South kind of beat up on each other there at the end.
You like Sanlee FC as well?
They look good right now. So
coming on strong, right?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think they're the favorite right now. They're looking good.
They also led the division in scoring. They did score the most goals. So they're an offensive team. And I think as the season progresses, you're likely to see teams with a little bit better offense, start to trend away from the other teams.
In the Central Conference South Division, Atletico Katy. This is a team, in terms of just finishing strong, trending up. This club maybe more so than anybody, playing really great the last couple of weeks. Art, let me start with you. Atletico Katy, this might be a serious title contender here.
They definitely have a chance, but their this playoff game coming up against Centis, a team that made a lot of noise in the spring UPSL national playoffs. I mean, this is a game that I think in Texas, everyone's gonna want to be watching this. It doesn't even matter where you are located. I mean, look for it on Maicujo. This will be a really entertaining one to watch, and I think it's a toss-up. I can't say who I think is gonna win. Either team can take that, whether it's going to be in regulation or even, who knows, maybe even penalties.
They only lost one game during the regular season. Haven't lost a match since September 15th.
That was a long time ago.
So yeah, if maybe they're due, against this Inocentes club, it's going to be a tough challenge for them. But you think that if they're going to host, they have a little bit of momentum behind them. It's going to be a little difficult for Inocentes, to travel down to the Katy area. So, I think at this point, it's probably a toss-up, really. I mean, you're going to get people who are going to favor Inocentes, people who are going to say Katy, they're the back-to-back South Division champions. There's no way they're going to lose at home. They've won 8 straight. There's no reason that they should lose. But then, they match up against Inocentes, and you go, geez, maybe.
Maybe they ran into something pretty tough there. They've outscored their opponents, 25-1 over the last 5 weeks. That's pretty impressive. And again, some of these teams, if you're charging hard into the playoffs, maybe you start off slow, but it's how you're playing at this point of the season. Hey, I hate to break the bad news, but Gam United lost, Art. That's your team.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it just seems like, if you were to talk to their players, their coaches, their organization, I think the first thing they'd have to say is that, they're proud of their guys for playing hard, but this is 2 years in a row of losing to FC Denver in U.S. Open Cup qualifying. In U.S. Open Cup qualifying, this time the third round
game, yeah.
Lost 4-1. Last year was in the first round, and they lost 3-0. So right now, if you're from the standpoint of GAM United, you look at FC Denver as this is a team that's like the thorn in our side right now.
Right? You got to go through them.
And this is the team. It's that logo that they probably put on their dartboard.
Yeah.
And it's just that's something that you got to use for motivation to come back strong for the next year. Because the way things are going, it wouldn't surprise me if they cross paths again in U.S. Open Cup qualifying.
Now, don't get me wrong. I love a skillful match, tacticians, connecting the dots, lots of passing. Sounds like, though, this one was kind of a bruiser, right, between these two sides?
Yeah, there was a lot of, physical play going both ways, it seemed. And Denver led 3-0 early. And so they, used their physicality, in measure early on against GAM. GAM is more of a speed team, more of a try and connect the dots kind of team. And it seemed like maybe they got, bullied maybe a little bit early, weren't prepared for the level of physicality. So they'll move on. GAM will move on to the Colorado playoffs, which start this weekend. 2 games. They'll host Colorado Rush.
Okay.
And then also Logrones Soccer Club out of Denver. They'll host Indios Denver. So those are the 2 matchups in the Colorado Conference. GAM hopefully can continue to win games and progress and not take this loss too difficult, too seriously.
All right, now we go to the Mountain, and I'm all confused. And I'm not even talking about Art's love affair with Tupperware. That makes sense. I'm confused about why San Juan FC won on the pitch. They won on the field, but Pope, they're not advancing?
That's correct.
Make sense of this for us.
Okay, so we had already talked about this previously, said that San Juan had won this game.
Okay.
They technically won the game on the field 5-1, but comes to find out that they used an ineligible player. FC Boise Cutthroats protested. San Juan counter-protested. Their protest was rejected. Their victory was denied, and so it turns out to be a victory for FC Boise. They'll move on in the playoffs. San Juan's season is finished. So their season finishes with a loss in the U.S. Open Cup, and now a loss in the Mountain Conference.
Not a way to finish.
Yeah, it's kind of a tough season. It goes from being, a very, very, very good season for San Juan to a very, very bad finish to the season for San Juan. So, I don't think that's anything anybody expected. I don't know the particulars of the player or how they used them or how it came to be, but the paperwork did cross the league office desk, and it is a fact. Yeah, San Juan has been eliminated from the playoffs, and Boise FC will replace them.
That's kind of disheartening, right, Art? I mean, a team on the field having such a great season, and then it kind of unravels, at the end.
It's from their point of view, it's disappointing. They had a good season, but let's face the facts. When you finish a season like this, you want to talk about the positives, but at the same time, it's hard to look at the positives, and all they could do is just move on and do what they can to come back stronger. But when you lose from fielding an ineligible player, I mean, I guess you could say that the teams that follow the rule, teams need to follow the rules,
Yeah.
and if you don't, you got to pay the consequences.
All right, up in Northern California, this is kind of a news note, I guess, but we're going to have a new club in time for the spring. Who's the new club, Dennis?
Contra Costa FC. They're a Liga NorCal team, very successful, very prominent, well known up there. They get some very, very good players. They had a really nice result recently. They defeated San Francisco Glens Soccer Club, a USL team, in a friendly of sorts. And so they're ready, and they're actually currently competing in Liga NorCal in the playoffs there. And so they're going to come into the springtime fresh and ready to go, and presumably even one of the favorites in the Wild West Conference when they come in. And it's received a lot of attention up there, very positive attention. People think very highly of Contra Costa FC. Their owner, their director, Mark Wine, has been running Contra Costa FC for a while, but the team is out of Concord, and he is actually the strength and conditioning coach for the Concord de La Salle football team.
Really?
Right. And
okay.
Right. And a lot of their guys have connections with De La Salle. And so we got to talking a little bit about football, and I told them, well, I've seen Mater Dei a couple times, and they didn't think very highly of Mater Dei because they have a history, right? And they wanted to talk about high school football with me, and I was like, well, we're talking about a soccer club, right?
Wait, they were pumping you for information.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you know about the Monarchs, Pope?
Exactly. And I told them I hadn't covered them in a couple seasons, so I didn't know too much, but I've seen them on TV, and I thought they'd probably give them a good challenge, and they're like, nah, we got them again, no big deal. Yeah. So, their coach, Coach Lotta Sewer up there is a
He's a legend. They made a movie about him.
Yeah. And that bobblehead this year, too. I think he got bobblehead treatment from the Booster Club. Yeah. So, he's a massive figure up there in Concord. And they're all part of that De La Salle football / soccer. Their head coach, Contra Costa FC's coach, is the boys soccer coach at De La Salle, I should say.
That's really cool. I like that connection there.
And he's won their section 4 times, so lots of soccer, winning there at De La Salle, lots of gridiron football winning there at De La Salle, and it's all wrapped into one with Contra Costa FC. So it's going to be an interesting story as it unwinds itself here in the springtime to see how well they do and how they bring that Concord influence into the Wild West Conference.
Or do you think they can, jump right in and make it an immediate impact in the spring?
Absolutely. I mean, they are a well-run club. They have things working on all cylinders, and they even won the Liga NorCal Copa Cup championship in May 2018. And when looking at the name of that tournament, I just feel like they left out something. It should be called the Liga League NorCal Northern California Copa Cup. Just to cover all the bases.
Just so we can have every word.
Because you got Copa and Cup. In the name of that tournament, but
it's redundant.
I like it. I like it.
Oro and gold.
Oro gold. That's true too. All right, and now in Southern California, the top-seeded Cal United Strikers FC. Bittersweet, I guess you could say, right? On and off the field for them. With the passing of GM Michael Collins' father. So, Pope, talk about they had a big win, and then obviously off the field, dealing with some loss there.
So, they ended their regular season on sort of a ridiculous note of 16.
Is this right?
Yeah, 16.
Nothing?
So, 4 more goals than 12. So, even more than a dozen goals. It was just
How does that even happen? Even when I was in U10, I never saw 16 goals. 10 would be the most.
Yeah, I wasn't there at the game, so I don't know how exactly it happened, but I saw the scoring on Twitter.
Was Art goalie? Was he the goalie?
Man, that's harsh.
He's just throwing money in.
He's the one who's the goalie.
You get Tupperware. You get Tupperware. I'm sorry.
So, they had a massive victory over OC Real Force to end the regular season. Cal United FC, of course, is the number 1 seed in the SoCal South Division. They get a bye this week, and then they'll play a playoff game in the semifinals. But the day before, it was announced that Michael Collins' father, who's a U.S. Soccer Hall of Famer, Peter Collins, had passed away in his home state of New York. He's just a historical figure in East Coast soccer and Long Island soccer. He was the Long Island Youth Soccer League president for almost 30 years, from 1977 till 2004. Just a big part of youth and amateur soccer there in Long Island, which is one of the cradles of amateur soccer in the United States. And so, like you said, bittersweet, I think, for the entire club, to see both sides of success and loss and on the same weekend. And our hearts, of course, go out to Michael Collins. He's a friend of the show, was on earlier in the season.
Yeah.
So, we wish him and his family the best in the coming days and weeks.
So, Art, they're going to be obviously playing with heavy hearts. Sometimes a club, a team can use that as fuel to go out there and maybe win something for Michael Collins' father. I mean, if you look at it that way.
Yeah, I mean that's obviously going to be something that's on their minds. They know they need to win. They're going to be prepared. But yes, at the same time, that's all that is going to be on their minds. And I'm sure they'll have some kind of
like a patch.
Yeah,
or
so I'm sure they'll have some kind of patch or armband to wear.
Yeah,
and,
right on their tape or something. Yeah,
absolutely. And I've had some good conversations with Michael Collins. A great guy. Great GM. He's done a lot in the sport of soccer. So of course, I send my condolences to Michael as well and his family.
Absolutely, we all do here at Inside the UPSL. When we come back, we're going to wrap things up for this episode. And again, the free advertising for a month. But you've got to email sales@tvemax.com. Okay, sales@tvemax.com. We'll be back on your favorite show. It's Inside the UPSL presented by TVE Max. And welcome back to Inside the UPSL presented by TVE Max. Here to wrap things up. It's a big weekend of soccer on the national stage, right, guys?
Not only here in the UPSL, but in Major League Soccer. Yep.
So Major League Soccer has their championship, and Pope, who is it? It's Atlanta and Portland, you said?
Correct.
In the championship match?
Yep. The new expansion Atlanta franchise and the Portland Timbers.
First, are you surprised how Atlanta took off like that?
It is rather amazing, to be honest. To see an expansion club go into a market so quickly and blow up so fast. I mean, credit goes to Arthur Blank, right? He's the money man behind the Falcons and everything that they do there in Atlanta in terms of sporting, the stadium, the whole atmosphere. And I think a lot of it has had to do with their play on the field, how exciting the team actually is. But yeah, they're drawing, everybody knows they're drawing 60,000, 70,000 to these games, and the place is sold out.
It's a football stadium.
Right. And the people are going crazy. They had way more people there for the Atlanta playoff game than they did for the Falcons football game here this last weekend.
Did they really?
Yeah, by like a number of like 15,000.
That's amazing. All right, so we're going to pick winners?
I think so.
Portland or Atlanta? Oh, boy. You guys want to go first?
I'll pick.
You already know,
Yeah,
huh?
I'm going to pick Atlanta. I think
home field advantage or what?
Well, that, and they have the league MVP in Joseph Martinez. They have Miguel Almiron, probably Tata Martino's last game as their head coach. They're going to want to win him on the way out. So I think it'll be a rousing victory, probably 3-1 or 4-1 for Atlanta.
Going with Atlanta as well. I mean, they got a good squad. I mean, everything seems to be going their way this year. So got to go with Atlanta. No choice.
You guys take the ATL. You can have the Dirty South. I was just in Portland like 3 weeks ago. It was cold. It was wet. People were miserable. I feel like the Timbers are going to leave Portland. They're going to leave the Northwest. They're going to go down to Atlanta. The sun's going to be out, even though they play in a dome, right?
Yeah.
The sun's going to be out. They're going to feel so happy to be outside and get out of Portland. They're going to go in there, and they're just going to dominate, and they're going to win.
That's
my take.
That's an interesting theory.
Did you think about that?
No, I did not.
I don't know. I mean, even if it is raining and if it is kind of dreary, I don't know why people would be excited about leaving Portland. It's one of the best cities in America.
Actually, it is. It's a really cool city. It is a really cool city. It's just, it was really just, foggy and wet, and, you got to get out of there. You got to go to the south. Maybe
I think their head coach, Gio Savarese, is one of the best head soccer coaches in North America. Fantastic what he's been able to do on both the NASL level with Cosmos and now with Portland Timbers, getting those teams to championship games. It's crazy to think that he's coached in championship games at all levels, and there's still no promotion relegation in America, but he still manages to coach these teams to championships. So I think his story is amazing. Portland Timbers story, I think they've sort of piecemealed a season together and managed to get to this championship game, and I think they're just going to get steamrolled by Atlanta, to be honest. Yeah, totally just run over.
Two great fan bases, though, right?
Yeah, Portland Timbers, they play up there, and it's sold out every time they play, up there, and they have
those
one of the
people
best
are
atmospheres.
itching to get out of the Northwest. They're going to be hopping on those planes, headed to the dirty South.
It is December, so I'll give them that. They want to leave. 1 month a year, if it's December, before Christmas.
Actually,
sure.
Portland, you're right. Portland is an awesome city. I'm just messing with everybody else.
Yeah, if I could, I would. If I could, I would.
If you could, you would. Yeah, same here. It's an awesome city. Plus, they got that famous donut place. We all love donuts here on the show, right?
Yeah.
Voodoo Donuts?
Voodoo Donuts.
Yeah, Voodoo Donuts. Yeah.
But you can get bacon on your donut, all kinds of crazy things. It's a madhouse there at Voodoo Donuts.
You can tell we're all starving right now. It's like way past our dinner time. Pope, Art, always good seeing you guys. Appreciate it.
You too.
Save me some Tupperware.
Do my best.
Take all your leftovers. Just, you know what to do. Oh, you're the master. I'm not telling you what to do with your Tupperware. You know what to do with your Tupperware. My name is Pep Fernandez. We'll see you next time on Inside the UPSL, presented by TVE Max.